The advanced project bracket is a more complicated one. You should do this after you've finished all the lessons in the book. We'll go over here to the drawing, and then we'll open up the part. And again, we want to investigate the file history. And this one was created in 1997. So again, there may be some things in here that you don't want to do. For instance, in the model tree here, you've got a whole bunch of rounds. They probably could have been combined into one command and a variety of sets depending on the size. So let's do the model player again. There's our first protrusion, fairly simple. Incorporated the rounds here because they're very big arcs, not really a round. Let's see what we did here. Added a datum plane. You can see the dimensions for it. And used datum plane and datum B to project. Not sure why they needed a datum plane, but actually it's useful. It goes down the center of the protrusion. And you can see this datum feature that was created out here. Cut. Cylindrical protrusion. Another datum plane used for the cut there. Hole all the way through. Another protrusion. Oh, this is interesting. Hopefully they cut that off. Cut through the area here. Round datum axes. And a hole. 3 holes. Rounds. The rounds will be challenging on this one. That's it. It's a nice project, actually. So, if we go back, obviously the very first protrusion is fairly simple, so we won't really cover that. A second here, let's see what they've got. Kind of an interesting sketch they used. I like this. They put in some construction center lines through here at an angle. Help determine all this information. They locked it into the back as a reference here and on the top, obviously. But this construction element here and one on the angle here, very useful for setting up the sketch. I think what we'll do is we'll go drag this up. So we have our cut. Interesting way of doing it. Move the material. One of the things they did is they did a lot of construction geometry. So you've got these 3 datum planes that were added. Very useful for constructing everything they need to have done. You can see the one datum plane here. Put in there before they did the protrusion. Next they did a simple round through here, round extrusion, using this as the sketching plane, datum B, projecting to both sides, symmetric. Kind of interesting. I don't know if there would have been a better way to do it. Put another datum plane in there, datum plane D. This is a very important one. See this? Passes through the whole part, through the axes. You know, if you ever want to make your datum planes bigger, right in the datum plane command here, you can adjust the outline. So let's make this 5. Let's make this 7. Actually, the 7 one, let's make that 10. I like that. Now you got your datum plane going all the way through the bottom there. Maybe even bigger it needs to be. So your cut, simple cut there, and hole through. Now the protrusion, let's look at that one. It's interesting. And this is stopping here, so that's why it's protruding through the bottom, and you have to cut it off afterwards. It's not bad. It's an interesting thing, a dilemma that you have to deal with. Here's an axis they stuck through down the middle here. Put a hole down the axis. Added a cut in there. Take a look at that. Kind of interesting. I don't know if there's a relationship between this slot and this here. Maybe there should have been a dimension located in that direction rather than here. Depends on the part. So they did cut off the bottom. It's okay. So they had that little piece in there. They removed it. Got a round, and you've got some axes. Not sure where they put these axes. So they stuck a couple of axes in here. Oh, for the holes. Okay. So they put the axes on these arcs here and here. Now the hole obviously should have been pattern. At least these two, but you should be able to do that with a pattern. And then we have all these rounds. And if you look closely, you may find some problems. So what happened here? So they're missing some rounds. They weren't able to do it. Let's see if you are when you work on your project. See if you can get a round in there. Might have to change this geometry. How important is this geometry? Well, it's not really important. So how we get the round in there may be more important than whether or not this distance here is correct, or I should say the same. So in other words, you may want to make this look a little bit different by changing the geometry. And the sequence you put your rounds in will also determine a lot. So that's the bracket.